On October 28th, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, several other environmental groups, and concerned citizens traveled to Harrisburg to show their opposition to Governor Wolf's Pipeline Infrastructure Task Force. The groups believe the task force should be disbanded because there are a number of gas industry representatives on the panel. The citizens vented their anger during the public comment period of the task force meeting.
My name's Maggie Henry, and I'm an organic farmer from Lawrence County, Pennsylvania. I might say a former organic farmer. In 2008, I mean to tell you, after a decade of more work than any of you on this commission can imagine, I had it going on. I had 5 restaurant accounts. The East End Food Co-op could not keep my eggs in stock for 24 hours at a pop. In 2008, I was picked as one of the 10 best things on the food scene in Pittsburgh. I don't tell you this to brag. Then following Thanksgiving, I was on the front cover of the New York Times Thanksgiving Day edition for My Heritage Meats. Today I'm out of business because I can't guarantee the organicness of my products. In 2014, my home was virtually destroyed in terms of bank financing by all the earthquakes that Hillcore Energy caused by fracking in Poland Township, Ohio. How many of you own homes? How many of you have had to put up with this? And I mean to tell you, it's nobody is responsive to any of this. It doesn't matter to anyone that water pours down the walls of my basement, or that my drywall is all cracked, or that my roof leaks. I now live in Center County, Pennsylvania. I'm a freaking gas refugee. I'm lucky enough to be able to get away from this. At 62 years old, my husband and I took out another mortgage. We've been mortgage free for 15 years, and we're now in debt again because in 2008, I also heard the voice of Terry Greenwood telling me of the devastation that Dominion wrought on his farm. And you know what? Last June, when we buried Terry, I promised him that this grandmother, who's been denied the opportunity to be the 5th generation to raise her grandkids on this farm, I would not let his voice die in vain. Shame on you people!
This task force has stated that it wants citizens to accept the build-out process of the gas industry. How can you accomplish this goal without even knowing the process from a landowner's point of view? This panel is heavily overweighted with energy industry individuals and lacks even a single landowner advocate. We, in the path of a transmission line, are being forced to participate in a corporate for-profit scheme that takes our land, our homes, and our businesses in a process that is corrupt and unfair. By the taking clause of the 5th Amendment, just compensation is rarely attained. We are not included in the route planning process, we are not informed of how to fight back, and the majority of landowners are bullied into signing contracts that are so fraudulent and one-sided that it could be malpractice for a lawyer to allow their clients to sign them.
Hear, hear.
Where is the government advocate for those who can't afford thousands of dollars for a lawyer? Where's the advocate for those who are not computer literate and have no way of following the complicated FERC website? Why are we left to defend for ourselves when the Freedom of Information requests are illegally ignored? We have no advocate to educate us on how to avoid being steamrolled over by the pipeline companies, many of whom do not follow best practices. By the time most landowners figure out the system, if they ever do, it's too far along in the process to do any good. This is patently wrong. I stand to lose both my home farm and my equine veterinary clinic business because of a pipeline that refused to have a dialogue for 16 months and is only now doing lip service to a submitted reroute because of FERC forcing the issue after numerous submissions by myself and 370 of my clients. This is wrong. Pennsylvania property owners and tax-paying citizens cannot embrace an industry that tramples our constitutional property rights and clubs us like baby seals to take what is ours for their exploitation.
And I'm here representing communities from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware who have been harmed by and or are threatened by pipeline infrastructure associated with shale gas extraction here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Pipelines inflict an indelible scar upon our communities. They take public and private lands, they reduce the market value and marketability of our homes, they deprive us of the full use and enjoyment of our property, they force communities to live next to the hazards of a pipeline, they contribute to climate instability with their greenhouse gas emissions. They cause water pollution, air pollution, increased runoff, lost recharge, increased erosion. They diminish recreation and harm ecotourism. They do harm to native species. They invite in invasive species. They harm agriculture, reducing crop production by as much as 30%. They damage art and undermine businesses of all kinds. You cannot avoid or mitigate these harms to any level that is remotely acceptable. And as a result, this Pennsylvania Pipeline Task Force, which is designed to try to further advance these pipelines, is a farce. It should be disbanded by Governor Wolf, and instead, the Governor Wolf should stop misusing the tax dollars on this task force and instead invest in a task force that will create regulations, policies, and funding mechanisms that will advance clean and renewable energy options and energy conservation. And we are here today to tell Governor Wolf to shut down this task force and instead to invest wisely in clean energy technologies, not dirty fossil fuels.
Thank you. Next, number 7, Sam Kaplik-Allaire, followed by number 8, Pat Libby, followed by number 9, Tim Spees.
My name is Sam Kaplik-Allaire. I work with residents throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York that have been impacted by proposed pipelines. I see a lot of folks in this room today. Mark West, Sunoco Logistics, Williams, Kinder Morgan, and I'm wondering where the Marcellus Shale Coalition logo is on the wall. Where are the citizens that have proposed pipelines running through their communities? Where are the folks in upstream communities where fracking is taking place that have polluted water, that have polluted air? Recently, this week, stretching back to the past few months, a number of reports have come out showing how the Department of Environmental Protection consistently covered up, shredded, and made sure that none of the information regarding contamination of water sources due to hydraulic fracturing was released to the public. Over 2,000 complaints were lodged with DEP offices that never saw the public eyes. This is an issue that impacts all of Pennsylvania residents. This is an issue that impacts the entire region. So far, in the eastern part of Pennsylvania alone, we have 12 proposed pipelines. This is what we're calling a market rush. It's not about any registered need. In fact, it's about one company trying to beat out another company, oftentimes going through the exact same area, from the exact same pickup point to the exact same drop-off point. This is about one company trying to make more money for its bottom line rather than actually taking into account the impacts to residents here in the Commonwealth. I want to take a moment of silence for all of those who have been impacted, for those who have their land being taken by Sunoco Logistics, for those who have Williams Corporation with the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline running through their communities. I want to take a moment of silence for the rest of my 2 minutes to recognize all the voices that are not being heard here today.
My name is Tim Spees. I'm with LAP, which stands for Lancaster Against Pipelines. And we formed with a unifying goal of stopping the Atlantic Sunrise Project by Williams Company from bisecting our county and our communities. But we have come to see that this project destruction extends beyond Lancaster. Our goal to protect our land and our rights, but it has become a movement that stands against the destruction of fracking and the associated harms that come with it. We have adopted the slogan, "We are Lancaster County," because we know that Lancaster is well known all over the world for our uniqueness. From some of the world's richest non-irrigated farmland to the cultural richness of our Amish and Mennonite brothers and sisters, from the handcrafted furniture we make to the preserves and whoopie pies that come from our kitchens. We believe these identities are worth protecting from the blatant corporate overreach and unquestioning damage that the natural gas industry has done and wants to continue to do to what is most precious to us. We residents of Lancaster County view Williams' proposed Atlantic Sunrise Project as a threat to our lives as we now know them. We reject the indecent proposal to exploit the land that sustains us, the forests that clean the air, the farms we've cultivated for generations, the water on which we depend, and our increasingly endangered rural way of life. Williams has bullied its way into our own properties as surveyors systematically trespassed on our land, ridiculed our residents, spewed inaccurate information regarding risks and compensation alike, and consistently threatened greater disruption for landowners who resist them. They've even called resistant landowners un-American and unpatriotic for defending our homes against Williams and Teresa plants. The irony here is laughable. After all, stealing our family land and future for dreams so they can ship U.S. energy overseas is as un-American a scenario as one can imagine. We are well aware that a right-of-way would give Williams access to our land forever. No one-time buyout could possibly compensate for the never-ending loss of our peace of mind, the never-ending threat of explosions and leaks, the never-ending assurance of additional construction on our land as they install more pipelines and additional infrastructure projects for years to come. Nor does a one-time buyout replace the shattered reality that our community no longer belongs to us. Our Protect, Create, Quote project has become our rallying protest banner, the tangible, visible sign of a number of people who stand with us to resist this injustice. The incredible resolve of Lancastrians and our allies to make something beautiful in our opposition to something wrong and unjust. We have a broken energy system, and the law that protects it can condone it and perpetuate the system of exploitation and destruction. If we look at the members of the task force here right now, we see an imbalance in the voices that are at the table, the majority being from the industry itself. Is there even one voice from the people who are most directly affected, one landowner, one resident in the blast zone, one of those who are in the sacrifice zones, who would carry the risk of fracking and fracked gas? Since our elected officials at every level have spectacularly failed to protect our community and our land, we have been forced to prepare to protect ourselves. If Williams forces its way into Lancaster County, violating all that is most sacred to us, we'll be forced to defend our land, protect our communities, and assert our rights. We promise the people of Lancaster County, mothers, fathers, teachers, physicians, farmers, counselors, pastors, and students, we will join many others across this proud state in going to jail before we let you talk and walk all over our desecrated, sacred values. Lancaster Against Pipelines is a growing group of people who plan on participating in the protection of our land rights through nonviolent direct action. We stand united on the right side of this issue. Thank you.
I would just like to say, with the makeup of this task force, I too agree there are no real disaffected voices on this, around this table. I think the other irony, I heard Cindy Ivey is representing the Public Participation Committee, which I find to be truly bogus. Our county commissioners in our group have made many requests to have Williams do a formal public meeting, not an open house, and she has either not responded or refused to do that. I'm going to say Pennsylvania cannot succumb to the fossil fuel industry's profiteering actions on our resources without suffering irrevocable damage. And we, the people of our Commonwealth, must have a legitimate voice and role in determining our fate. My other comment is a 30-day public comment period is extremely insufficient for the public to have time to digest these ongoing projects and what's going on. I also have to say we have no faith in our government agencies to protect our interests, our health, safety, and welfare. My other comment is I would like to chastise all of you for the numerous plastic water bottles on this table.
And I'm here today because I'm with all of the people who have been speaking to talk about our concerns for the fact that we are not part of this task force, that our positions are not being well represented by this group if we have no voice here except to be giving public comments where we're cut off after a certain amount of time. But I think that there are a lot of good points that have already been made today that I don't want to reiterate in my 2 minutes. I wanted to make the point that for all of the people who are talking about their concerns for the climate or their concerns for the individual pipeline fights that they're involved with, there are people in Pennsylvania that people throughout the region are standing in solidarity with who have been suffering from this industry for over a decade now. They're not being helped. Their needs are not being met. And so in the inaugural meeting of this task force, when Secretary Quigley talks about building public acceptance with the work of this task force, I gotta wonder, are you talking about the mother whose son was splattered by fracking waste, and when she looked up at the operator of the truck who didn't give her time to get inside her house with her son, he was smirking at her? Do you think you're going to have her public acceptance anytime soon, or those who have a million stories like her throughout the region in Pennsylvania already? We have to stop the damage. We have to stop the bleeding. We have to shut this task force down. Thank you very much.
In January of this year, the former Federal Energy Regulatory Commissioner, Chairwoman Cheryl LaFleur, appeared at the National Press Club luncheon. She remarked, "Pipelines are facing unprecedented opposition. We have a situation here." Yes, we have a situation here. A situation which obviously this task force is unaware of. According to a survey which appeared in a Black Vetch Insight Group report entitled the 2015 Strategic Directions U.S. Natural Gas Industry Report, 74% of the respondents cited delays by opposition groups as the most significant barrier to the construction of pipelines. So yes, there is a situation. The Black Vetch report also pointed out that FERC has seen everyday citizens becoming unexpected interveners in routine filings. A case in point is with the current proposal before FERC, the Penny's Pipeline, where as of yesterday, over 1,000 everyday citizens unexpectedly filed as interveners. This is a 108-mile pipeline. This means there are 10 everyday citizens intervening in this pipeline. Imagine that. Everyday citizens actually participating in government, demanding to be heard, is being seen as a barrier. So yes, there is a situation. Other concerns about pipeline include safety, property values, liabilities, environment, exploitation, and the heavy-handed use and threats of eminent domain. Addressing such concerns from everyday citizens will require meaningful regulations and the will to enforce them. But as previously stated, the intent of this task force is not to produce regulations. Right now, the splashy campaigns are being viewed as no more as a weak attempt to put lipstick on a pipeline. Thank you.